Zenith Bank Media, in collaboration with the Bureau of Technical Matters, presents Lest We Forget, a celebration of the magical and pragmatic strides of the Chief Godswill Akpabio administration in closing the loud development gulf between the past and the present in AkwaIbom State. Lest we forget the true story of uncommon transformation.
The AkwaIbom International Airport today towers above its contemporaries in the country. But how many people can tell the story of the airport before May 29, 2007, when Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio took over? Today, unless we forget, we tell the true story of the airport, its metamorphosis and its glory, lest we forget. Please stay tuned.
All over the world, air transportation is reputed as the fastest, most convenient, and one of the safest. It plays a key role in shaping the economies of countries, even as it is one major indicator of a country's growth and development. Airports are the first impression mirror of their host city, state, or country, as they serve as the gateway to first-time visitors. Globally, renowned airports have equally become towering tourism signatures for their honor countries. Hence, J.F. Kennedy, Heathrow Airport, etc. have placed their countries in strategic world maps. By nature and disposition, AkwaIbom people are globally reckoned as adventurous people who are not only famous for globetrotting, but who are almost always in pursuit of international business openings, hence their penchant for traveling. The state's natural endowment also combined to make it a highly sought-after destination not only in the country, but the entire sub-region. Even prior to its creation, these factors had combined to account for the high volume of air traffic that either emanated from it or eventually ended here. This must have informed the decision of the Atta administration to conceptualize an airport for the state. This it did by awarding a contract for the construction of an airport to Messrs. Dynecore International, albeit a barely known name in airport construction. At the end of Obong Victor Atta-led administration in May 2007, the airport was between 10 and 15% complete, as assessed by the then Airport Implementation Committee, headed by Obong Mpoite-Fanga and confirmed by the project consultant, Messrs. Similar Consultant. Lest we forget, as at the time Governor Akpabio took over, only the first column placement was done at the air traffic control tower cabins and consoles. The first borehole was just being installed at the airport, and block work had only just started at the Aerodrome Rescue and Firefighting Bay. The hangar F7 footing was at its grid line, while the runway was still at laterite compacting stage. There was no motorable driveway within the airport premises. An on road was yet to be closed to traffic as required. The engineer Tidinyang is a special advisor to the state government on technical matters as well as board member AkwaIbom Airport Development Company Limited. While Otwe Kongidonga was at the time brought in to oversee the airport as the chairman of the implementation committee.
For me, it was less than 10%. And some people will tell you 10%, 12%, but that's not what matters. What matters to His Excellency was that maybe the vision he had for the people of AkwaIbom State was to have a functional airport as quick as possible, to alleviate the sufferings of the people. So when we came in, I used to go to the airport even before became the secretary to the implementation committee. I used to work with the commissioner of special duties. I didn't like what I saw in terms of standard of contract management. It wasn't there at all, and these were so-called experts or expatriates. Our road was close to traffic in 2009. We did several write-up to the Ministry of Transport, and eventually we got an approval. There was even an initial application, before we came in as the Provision Committee, and then we walked in because the Commissioner for Works, of course, was a member of the Provision Committee. We worked in consonance with him, and then we were able to get approval for the closure, and then we went closing in 2009.
Our first concentration was on the runway itself. The runway on the north end. Some earthworks had been done. Not much was done on the south end because there was a lake across that end. You used to call it the Jito. It took a while because Jito is the contractor there. In fact, we were worried if we would be able to get that done in time. I remember when the governor came in and he was standing and looking at the lake, and that's where the runway was supposed to cross. And he said, "Are you sure when an aircraft passes here, it will not sink?" So that time we had not even talked about crossing that lake, not to talk of even doing earthworks, the sand filling and all this. It was only in the northern end that some earthwork had been done because that was hard and dry land anyway. The interim terminal was just foundation at that time. MRO wasn't even, remember even when we did the inaugural flight, there was really nothing like MRO except because if you noticed, you have seen a bit of foundation there. That's the place that we had the podium and all that. So the fire bay is a small building. The fire bay was actually done by Alcon. The interim terminal was completed by Alcon, but it was started at foundation stage. And Alcon did not come into that project until after this administration came, because it was Nidaco and another company that it was after this government came that Alcon came, and Alcon is the one that did these other buildings. So it couldn't have been done and completed at that time.
As of June 2008, Mrs. Gaint International, apparently due to ineptitude and lack of capacity, abandoned the airport site and fled the country, hence putting the state's dream of an airport of its own in jeopardy. A judicial commission of inquiry was consequently set up by the Akpabio administration to investigate the abandonment of the airport by DynCorp, even after a large chunk of the contract consideration had been paid to it. Chief Victor Yanam, the then Attorney General, who instituted the probe, and Tuekong Idongasenkanga speak.
When we dug into the records, we discovered that the entire money for the airport construction had been paid upfront, and yet only bridge clearing was available. So the first thing the governor did was to ask us, the some committee, the airport, set up the airport committee, of which the Attorney General was a member. I was a member, and we went to negotiate the return of DynCorp. That the name of the company was DynCorp. We tried to bring them back to do their job, but they came back half-heartedly and did nothing. Upon further investigation, we discovered that that company had no presence on the ground. It was not a registered business in Nigeria, and of course that meant some laws were being breached. And it had no presence. It did not even have a wheelbarrow in its name in this country. What they did was that they would come and invite one local contractor or the other to come and do one thing, and then all the issues, contracts they were doing or they were giving to some of these were all inflated, and then they kept coming back to government for more money, kept coming back to government for more money, and yet the airport project was not moving forward. When government became frustrated at their lack of commitment to the project, government decided to institute a commission of inquiry after all the negotiations with them in Washington failed. Government decided to institute a judicial commission of inquiry. Immediately they got whiff of that, they all ran away from this country. Since they were not even on the ground anyway, only 4 of them were always here. They just left.
Well, we actually worked with DICO for about 9 months, I should say, within this administration, the outset of this administration. I say so because it took a little bit of time when there was a change of administration for them to do something really meaningful, because they were not sure whether they should stay in or not. We tried to work with them, but not long after that they left. About the state of the project then, immediately this administration came in, we did an assessment. DICO claimed that they had done about 17%, but that was for the purpose of their money, because money used to be paid to them upfront, about 3 months upfront into their account in the United States, and then anytime that they have the short of that, they'll just call everybody to go on strike. But the administration now got some other people to come and do proper auditing, technical audit. And at the end of the technical audit, we found out it was just about 10%. That was the verdict then. But by the time DICO left, 10% as of when the administration came in. By the time DICO left, we had pushed it up to maybe about 20-something%. And then the implementation committee now worked well a year after that, in 2009, before we had the number of rights.
The unfortunate situation was tantamount to perpetuating the irksome and circuitous journey the AkwaIbom people had been taking on bad roads for hours just to catch flights from neighboring states. Poised at ensuring that the dream of AkwaIbom having an international airport was not dashed on account of DICO's abscondment, His Excellency Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio, CON, decided to look beyond vainglory by re-awarding the airport contract in June 2008 to Messrs. Alcon Nigeria Limited and Jito Construzioni Generali Nigeria Limited, 2 world-acclaimed experts in airport construction.
We met Gito. Gito was already part of the original, subcontractor, let's say so, for the runway. Gito was a company that was selected by DICO, by the former administration as well, and all we did was to maintain that. But they really had to re-evaluate the project, to say, look, this is what rates we were given. This is not going to do the job, because this was in 2005 and this is 2007, 2008. They needed a review, and of course certain payments that were not paid, like the establishment of the runway, to replace, and that they still need to do a lot of that. Of course, we met the runway at the clearing stage, and then some parts were being filled and some were not filled. We did not have any other option than to look at the contract again, and we did what we had to do professionally to be able to get them to work. The advantage they had was that they were fully mobilized to site. They had a very big portion of yard in the vicinity of the airport, which they're still maintaining until now. So that gave them serious advantage over any other contractor. With Alcon, we had to source for a company that have the strength, especially on the combination of concrete works and then steel works. The amount of tonnage of steel that had to go up there on the MRO is something that has not been done in Nigeria before. Because when you see the open length, you see the height, that there's no column supporting it at all. The former we're looking at bringing Chinese, to handle the project, but this was done by Nigerians, right here in AkwaIbom State. So when we got their proposals and compared with other companies, so they're fairly in favor with it, and they've done it successfully without any accident, successfully without any failure.
A hasty reformer who does not remember the past will find himself condemned to repeat it. These are the wise words of a great scholar, John Bacham. When Godswill was done in AkwaIbom in 2007 and he emerged governor, Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio CON was certainly at home with the ugly past of the state and had resolved to change it. Little wonder, within just 5 years, the entire landscape has been transformed with a crystal clear difference between the past and the present. As the uncommon transformation train cruises on and a new AkwaIbom keeps emerging, it behoves us to place the past side by side the present, lest we forget. Welcome to Lest We Forget, a confluence of the past and the present for the sake of the future. Lest we forget the true story of uncommon transformation.
The pace of work increased phenomenally to the extent that by mid-2009, a world-class airport was unfolding for all, including the Dreamer-in-Chief and State Chief Executive Dr. Godswill Akpabio CON to savor. Today, the dream of an international airport that mirrors JF Kennedy, Heathrow, etc. as its benchmark proudly stands with distinct features on a large expanse of land willingly donated by the 3 local government areas of Nsratai, Uran and Okoba. The airport runway of 3.6 km long, expandable to 4.2 km by 60 meters wide, is arguably the best and the longest in the country. The AkwaIbom International Airport also prides itself as one with the first in West Africa hangar or MRO facility with capabilities for C&D checks on aircraft, a 2 million litre capacity water hydrant, an aerodrome rescue and fighting bay, first-class aprons, well-paved internal roads, a first-class air traffic control tower, cabins and consoles. Meanwhile, work is at an advanced stage at a 3.6 kilometer rapid exit taxiway and the International Terminal building. Captain Jerry Williams is the MD and CEO of the airport, while Austin Bay Esquire is Arbor Commissioner for Special Duties. They speak on the facilities that make the airport tick.
One thing we should know is that all airports have their niche. If you are building an airport from scratch, you need to look at the direction in which you're going. If you look at the AkwaIbom International Airport, for the components on ground now, they are the standard components that should be in an airport. We have a 3.6 kilometer runway, which is second to none in Nigeria, it's one of the longest. We have the Cat 2 ILS system, the landing lights to complement that. These are things that are not in normal airports. The typical airport is just about 2,800 meters. We have 3.6. Now, when you look at this airport and you look at the components that come with it, the state government has put in an MRO facility. That is something that is not in the West African region, and that will attract aircrafts into the state for maintenance and repair and overhaul capability. This is one of the components that is unique to this airport. Then we take into consideration the newly approved terminal building, 5 fingers, and one thing His Excellency has done is to make sure that it's A330 compliant. In Africa today, not one A330 has landed anywhere because it takes a lot of adjustments to make an aircraft even land, an A330 land in something like Lagos. So since we are building from scratch, we are taking that component in making that capability available. And it will become a hub, because one major factor that is hampering the growth of aviation in Nigeria and the West African sub-region is that we do not really have hubs that hub in traffic and distribute. And Lagos has just not lived up to that. When I was in Larry, I flew aircrafts out to Germany for maintenance. Sometimes we will take them to England, Germany, and this maintenance is maintenance that could be done routinely if we had the MRO facility available. So one thing is that is the cost, the ferry of the aircraft there, the crew that are going to be not utilized during that period. So there's a lot of benefit to have an MRO situated here. Typical MRO has about 800 people running it. There are 3 shifts.
Just about not up to 2 weeks, the Association of Aero Contractors Airline met and gave a clean bill of health, recommending and commending AkwaIbom State Airport as the best airport in Nigeria. The reason is that we tend to become unique because of the spirit of the uncommon transformation. AkwaIbom State International Airport happens to be the first airport that installed what is known as the clause system. Clause system is a state-of-the-art device, electronic device that is installed in the airport with a view to scaring away wild animals and birds that occasionally cause what is known within the aviation industry as the bird strike. Okay. If you pass through AkwaIbom International Airport, as soon as the aircraft taxis off from the stationary position along the taxiway into the main runway, you notice some booming sound. Booming sound is constructed and installed within the clause system with a view to scaring away all wild animals and birds that intended or that have the capacity to come into the main runway and thereby causing accidents to the aircraft. So we are, without any fear of contradiction, AkwaIbom International Airport happens to be the first and only airport so far in Nigeria that installs such a device. The second aspect that makes the airport very, 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 very unique and outstanding is that if you travel to other airports in Nigeria, we are what we call the ILAs happens to be another state-of-the-art electronic device that allow a pilot heading toward AkwaIbom International Airport to have a clear view of the runway 10 miles away, even at night.
In this country, at the end of what we are doing, we will be the busiest in terms of responsibility. For one, there is no airport in this country that has an MRO. Even if you go to Lagos, you might see a few people that are doing, what they call line check there and see. We are actually just the MRO would have been enough to have a full airport. There are airports in Europe that all they do is hold and have an MRO. So that's an airport of its own. There is no other airport in this country that has, not to talk of even this size. There's none that does up to CD checks. We don't have it. So that's a full responsibility on its own. Taking off and landing, as we do, going to Abuja and Lagos, that one is normal for any airport. So at that level, we are equal. But outside that, there's no basis for comparison. In terms of the runways, the size, it's not because we just went out to build a long runway. It's the concept. If you are hoping to bring aircraft, big aircraft to do the D checks here, like a 747 size, because that was the 747-400. That was what we had in mind, even in the design. Or an Airbus, we had to upgrade it from category 1 to category 2. In the whole of this country, including Abuja, it's only Murtala Mohammed International site that has a category 2. Category 2 has to do not just with the length of the road, it has to do with the navigational aids you have and the lighting. The difference there is that if there is bad weather today and you go to Abuja and the visibility is reported to be less than, that's the visibility from the cockpit of the pilot is reported to be less than 800 meters. That you can't see beyond 800 meters. You will not even attempt a landing. If you do, you'll be violating a regulation. But here, you can come as low as 300 meters. That's where the difference is. Because the navigational aids and the lighting will aid you, even if you don't see beyond 300 meters, to still land safely. And the difference between category 1 and 2 is like between night and day. You know, the cost and everything is much, much higher. So that's what makes it different as it were. And when we were looking at it, that you bring this category of aircrafts for maintenance, that is what now informed having that category of runways and the size of the runway itself. Airbus 380 now, we are the only one in this country that can talk about Airbus 380, not only in the length of the runway, but also in the width, which is 60 meters with full reinforced shoulders. Nobody has that. Lagos does not have that. They have a length that is good enough for an airport, but they don't have the width, because that's a critical thing. And that's about the largest airliner that you can think of. We also want to do cargo. Cargo these days, except maybe DHL that carries letters, they want to carry as much load as possible. So the bigger aircrafts are going to it. So again, they are going to need a runway that can accommodate this. So these are some of the differences, and we are the only one that has a dedicated emergency operations center. I'm sure you've seen that over time now, because we've not started it fully. That's the place that the pilgrims, use when they're leaving, that big hall. We did that because as you have more activities coming, if there is an incident, you see media people, everybody, families running around to find out information. In developed countries, you don't run around like that. You just go to a place and they tell you what is there. It's a dedicated place, and that is where now we've been recognized as a center for search and rescue. A lot of all these helicopters flying within this Gulf region, if something they're lost, no search and rescue. So that one now is dedicated for that.
The unique features included the navigational aids, the runway itself, the MRO, that is not in West Africa. You look at the firefighting equipment itself. The NCA DG, actually commended us when we came, with the state-of-the-art firefighting equipment that whenever an international accessories body comes in, and it will come to AkwaIbom State at least to showcase that Nigeria has something to show. And when you look at the sections of the VIP hangar that we are currently constructing, and then putting the taxiway in its proper perspective, consonance with that, and we are looking at the international terminal building that is never anywhere around here. So I would want to say the type of AkwaIbom State airport is not in Nigeria. And then I'll leave it for anybody to start comparing a mini of Abuja, a mini of Dubai or Heathrow, airport, coming out of here, because we are not there yet. But if you look at it in models, that we have the capability, of having a second runway or even a third runway, and then we have enough land, to expand, and then we have a cargo facility that we have to develop. So you begin to see an airport that will serve not only Nigerians but the Gulf of Guinea. And I begin to paint a picture of an international airport in Nigeria that will go in consonance with a deep sea port that is coming up. So the traffic of people that are coming in to go to work at the deep sea port area or coming out to take out, and then the cargo that is coming in for the free trade zones, the ones that are not going by sea but by air. So I see a very busy hub, in AkwaIbom State, an economic hub that will not be beaten by any state in the Federation.
A hasty reformer who does not remember the past will find himself condemned to repeat it. These are the wise words of a great scholar, John Bacham. When Godswill was done in AkwaIbom in 2007 and he emerged governor, Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio CON was certainly at home with the ugly past of the state and had resolved to change it. Little wonder, within just 5 years, the entire landscape has been transformed with a crystal clear difference between the past and the present. As the uncommon transformation train cruises on and a new AkwaIbom keeps emerging, it behoves us to place the past side by side the present, lest we forget. Welcome to Lest We Forget, a confluence of the past and the present for the sake of the future. Lest we forget the true story of uncommon transformation.
The airport has been visited by 2 ministers of aviation. The first was Mr. Babatunde Omotola, and then came Princess Stella Odua, whose first official airport visit was not to any of the fan-run airports but to AkwaIbom International Airport. The then Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA), Dr. Harold Demorin, after a series of these expert assessments visits, including that of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria (FAN), the AkwaIbom International Airport was in 2009 found to have met all requirements of the International Civil Aviation Organization (ICAO), hence granted approval to commence commercial flights. Lest we forget, attaining this height was not an easy cake.
We had some challenges at some point where you see the car park area, and the embankment there was, let's say, 48 hours to the opening. We were in a complete shit, we were not in line with it. But I put my foot on the ground and said, look, we must get this done. So working with the subcontractors, I was always there with them, sat with them, eat with them, and within that 3 days, I had to turn in some miraculous work there. And when people came, 24 hours to the opening, everything was almost in place. So we were very happy. So it was a very tough timeline. It was challenging, but we were able to do it. Of course, whatever His Excellency was very much interested. He was always coming to the airport for inspection. He will ask you specific questions. He will want you to, and if we need the help of the DG, you will put direct calls to him. and of course facilitated the monies and all that to make sure it is being done on time.
And so, on Wednesday, September 23, 2009, Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio, CON, kept its promise to give the people of the state an indelibly memorable 22nd State Creation Anniversary present when a full-fledged commercial aircraft landed at the AkwaIbom International Airport for the record first time. It was a day like no other, as all ethnic, political and religious divides collapsed and the overtly excited people of AkwaIbom State defied the harsh weather conditions to be part of that defining moment. The pace at which the Akpabio administration has delivered on the airport project is, to say the least, magical. For instance, lest we forget, the groundbreaking ceremony of the interim terminal building was performed by the Governor, Chief Godswill Akpabio, CON, on Thursday, 20th December 2007, and only a little after 1 year, the building was ready for use. Of all the dignitaries that have used the facility, one whose visit was not only symbolic but will forever be enshrined in the annals of the state history is the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. On Thursday, July 15, 2012, Dr. Jonathan became the first sitting president to fly directly into the state through the AkwaIbom International Airport and used the occasion to formally inaugurate the completed first phase of the project.
We are doing this commissioning for the airport to be used and then all over the world. The airport is the facility that takes care of everybody come on the world. Even those who are only passing to stop over and follow their planes. We are doing this with the glory and honor of our Almighty Father.
With the presidential endorsement, the state government has been bolstered to work assiduously towards the completion of the second phase of the airport, which includes the maintenance, repairs and overhaul or hangar facility, the parallel taxiway, the international terminal and other such ancillary components. Only recently, the Dreamer-in-Chief and Captain of the Uncommon Transformation Cruise, Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio, CON, visited the taxiway under construction.
And so we are still building. The maintenance repair of our facility is yet to be commissioned. We are still building. So the airport is something that you build over years. It's not something that one administration can complete. But what we want to do is to enhance the operational efficiency of the airport. And that's why we decided to undertake this venture. Not because we have the money, but because we know the necessity. We have to have a parallel or a taxiway to enable many aircrafts line up here and then take off. And that's why we are expanding the airport to also carry as many aircrafts as possible. And we are hoping that if we finish the terminal building, we start with cargo flights. If you do so, you are going to have very large-bodied, wide-bodied aircrafts with weights coming in here. And then how do they line up to take off? And once one or two of them come in, with the facilities we have on ground now, the airport will be almost closed because the wings of the airplanes are so long and so wide that at the end we may not have many of them here. That's why this project is very key to the operational efficiency of this airport. The expansion of the apron, the construction of the parallel taxiway, and at the same time the main terminal building itself. And we also want to make this the most attractive airport for private plane users. So he's going to have to extend the apron so long that you are going to have private hangars strewn along the pathway of the parallel hangar. That way, people would not come in with their private planes and make AkwaIbom a hub and take off from here, because it's going to be relatively cheaper than what you have in other parts of the country. Parking your plane here in safety and style. And with a second 5-star hotel coming, we can turn that into Pilots Hotel, where all the pilots in Nigeria will be staying there to do the operations. That's the vision.
A practical pointer to the governor's passion for the holistic completion of the airport is the recent reconstitution of the board of the AkwaIbom Airport Development Company Limited. Headed by a retired Air Commodore, erstwhile senior pilot in the Nigerian Air Force and commander of the Presidential Fleet, as well as the first and only military governor of AkwaIbom State, Otuekong Idongesenkanga, with other tested technocrats as members, the board has been up and doing. With just a little above 3 years in operation, the AkwaIbom International Airport has recorded an annual passenger growth rate of 13%, and over 400 million has so far been generated as revenue to government. A total of 12,178 aircraft movements have been recorded and counting, largely from the 3 commercial airlines currently in operation. AKIA has so far successfully airlifted a total of 604,593 passengers and counting since inception, out of which 4,022 were pilgrims from AkwaIbom flown to the Holy Land within the period of 3 years. Once the second phase is completed, the AkwaIbom International Airport will unarguably become the benchmark of aviation excellence in the sub-region. As we bask in the euphoria of a non-such in Africa international airport, it behooves us to do so with the past in mind. AkwaIbom International Airport towers above others today because a large-hearted dreamer-in-chief, 7-star uncommon transformer and magnanimous statesman, Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio, CON, was in 2007 driven by anger over the abandoned airport he inherited. Rather than say farewell to the project, as at the moment the road darkened, he translated his anger into action by, in the words of St. Augustine, praying as though everything depended on God and working as though everything depended on him. Today, he has built a reputation as the one who gave AkwaIbom people an international airport, not by what he is going to do, but by what he has already done, that even die-hard critics can see and the most incredulous cynics can appreciate. Lest we forget, before the advent of His Excellency Chief Dr. Godswill Akpabio, CON, it was not so. To God be the glory.
Zenith Bank Media, in collaboration with the Bureau of Technical Matters, presents Lest We Forget, a celebration of the magical and pragmatic strides of the Chief Godswill Akpabio administration in closing the loud development gulf between the past and the present in AkwaIbom State. Lest we forget the true story of uncommon transformation.
You're watching the Bridge TV show on AN Online.